Bonjour, hello, Quay, dear Eve. My name is Dr. Frances Gully, and I am the founder of what I'm now calling Craic and Conviviality. And when I use the word write or say the word crack, CRAIC, I am using it the way in which many Irish people use this to mean in having fun with other people. I think maybe for my uh, younger son here or some friends here, it might be like, and I now live in beautiful Logie Bay in the province of Newfoundland and Labrador in Canada. And I'm very fortunate to live here. But I think crack might be a little bit like hanging out with friends. Crack means like having fun with other people. And it has a broad meaning. So when we have truly affectionate, close relationships, we can at times uh, tease each other. We may insult each other. Um, there's a whole range of behaviors that, within the context of true relationship, of human behaviors and ways of being, are totally acceptable. And basically, crack is enjoying being human, and being human means being flawed, imperfect, full of faults, right? And um, one of the many ways we lose our humanity and our common humanity is when we try to pretend that we, as individuals or as families, as groups, communities, are perfect. We know that the Führer Adolf Hitler was a perfectionist, and perfectionism is one of the many roads that lead us to hell, or the roads to perdition. Uh, Others um, include uh, all different types of disconnect. So, physiologically, the way we humans are constructed, when we experience deep pain, and that pain can be physical, emotional, financial, social, psychological, sexual, spiritual. There are many sources of pain, and I am not a neuroscientist. I am licensed to practice outpatient clinical hematology in my province, and I'm very glad about that. And I'm very keen to follow all the rules and regulations and ethics around that. Um, and especially to say, I am not, I am not licensed as a counselor. I'm not licensed as a psychologist. I am not licensed as a yes, as a neuroscientist. Yeah, my and my alarm is going because I need to leave for my clinic. I'm going to be late if I don't leave now. However, yeah, I just wanted to say a few things because I haven't done a video for a few days, and yeah, so I'm here just to show I'm still trying to work at Craic and Conviviality, and I am particularly aiming to support the everyone who is non-violently resisting uh, abuse brutality, cruelty, coercive control, domination, colonization, uh, imperialism, militarism, and especially neoliberalism. And what is neoliberalism? If you haven't heard of that, it is a term that is used to describe the work of Friedrich Hayek, an Austro-Hungarian intellectual who managed to fool a lot of people into thinking that he was primarily an economist, when in fact he was primarily an ideologue, and he was primarily committed to reinventing the sort of ideology that underlay the most hierarchical and extreme aspects of the Austro-Hungarian Empire. And of course, the Austro-Hungarian Empire came out of other empires. Um, Imperialism has been on the go for humanity now for thousands of years. I think some people would say 12,000. I don't know. I can sort of roughly trace it in my mind back to around the time of Aristotle. Now, I love many aspects of the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation. I know that recently someone that has resigned and felt that they were mistreated, and I'm sure that's possible because people are mistreated in all sorts of organizations all the time. Um, so I am not for an instant trying to say that the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation and its CEO and board are all perfect. No, I'm not. However, what I am saying is there are a lot of really good uh, people who are hosts at CBC shows and Radio Canada shows, and I find they are excellent at um, discussing diverse opinions, which I love. I also love that now, at times, probably not enough, we can hear music um, that's that's played or sung in some of the beautiful First Nation, Métis, and Inuit languages like Inuktitut, um, and I might. I don't know how many are in me. I don't know all the different languages and nations, and I do not, under any circumstances, ever wish to uh, accidentally, in any way, insult any of our wonderful, fantastic elders and First Nation, Métis, and Inuit um, leaders of culture, science, and all religion, thought. Yes, I am a big fan of what I'm learning are sort of indigenous worldviews of regeneration. And I truly believe that those of us who are not, who have never lived in a place that was governed by indigenous laws, can benefit, particularly from learning from what are people who are called two-eyed seers, people who have that indigenous knowledge or skills or experience, and who have training in, for want of a better word, modern. Some people use the word Western, and I really have trouble with that, and I'll talk about that at some time. But anyway, modern, like non-Indigenous approaches to everything in life. And so, yeah, so, I need to catch my breath and I need to run. What am I going on about here? I just want to say that Neil Selgonlock, there's no such thing as a perfect person or perfect human. And I want to say that we are all each other's brothers and sisters keepers. And it's very easy to decide, to other people and to deceive ourselves. That said, there is no question whatsoever that Führer Donald Trump and his supporters, and they are many, and they live both sides of the US Canadian border, are, I would say, today, on a sunny day, I would say misguidedly trying to bring back change the current constitution, legal system of the United States of America to reflect more the constitutions and legal systems of extremely brutal, hierarchical, male dominated empires. Now, one of my issues about complaining about, because I've heard a lot of wonderful people on the Ideas program, the Canadian Broadcasting Ideas and Radio Canada program, complaining that white men and other people are privileged and get away with a lot. And I would say that in hierarchical, brutal, domination-focused societies, the entire society is evil, and whoever is at the top gets away with tremendous evil. So I would agree that Vladimir Putin, Führer Trump, and Orban in Hungary, and a whole bunch of other people are examples of absolutely brutal, tyrannical, totally immoral, totally unethical, sociopathic, narcissistic, Machiavellian sadists. Or in short, they are mega predators. They are extremely dangerous white men. However, I would say that unfortunately, there are similar styles of leaders in every shape and color, and many of them are in power in India and in Burma, in Thailand, in the People's Republic of China. So I think we have to be extremely careful about lookism. Looks can be so deceiving, and it can be convenient to use shorthand to describe people who either, and it's interesting because I notice there are people who promote lies such as the hydrogen economy can replace the carbon economy. That's a complete fallacy. That's a complete lie. But I know people, I've heard people here where I live, people I know who are otherwise decent human beings, kind human beings, helpful human beings selling that lie left, right, and center. So I'm pretty sure that what we need to be looking at is a carbohydrate economy, and how we do that, I have not a clue. But in other words, uh, the carbon economy is shorthand for our current dependence on finding and extracting and then burning fossil fuels, which include a whole range of things: coal, anthracite, um, uh, and there's this thing called LNG, liquid natural gas, and there's absolutely nothing natural or nice about LNG. It doesn't matter. And there are perfectly reasonable people who I don't think are sociopathic, narcissistic, uh, Machiavellian sadists who are arguing that we do need, that Canada needs to be a leader in liquefied on natural gas, and that we need more pipelines and stuff like that. In fact, you know, the best, kindest, warmest, nicest human beings I have ever met in my entire life were Norwegians who worked here in Newfoundland and Labrador for a company that used to be called Statoil and is now called Equinor, and which is a massive oil and gas company working all over the planet. And these people who worked for this company were the salt of the earth. They lived, otherwise they lived environmentally exemplary lives. They walked everywhere. They were extremely kind and generous. And a group of these Norwegian women befriended me when they met me soon after my late husband died. And my husband died August 18th, 2014. This year will be the 11th anniversary. And I was pretty well a wreck. And whereas many people would run away from a wreck, these beautiful Norwegian ladies befriended me and were so good to me. And I don't know where they stand right now on oil and gas. I do know, because I did have this conversation with them recently, that they point out that extracting the way oil is extracted here off the coast of Newfoundland and Labrador is far less uh, environmentally damaging than the way it is extracted in the oil sands in Alberta. And I'm sure that is true. But when it comes to burning the oil, it has the same effects. And unfortunately, most of the lovely people I know who are good human beings, who are absolutely not uh, sociopathic or psychopathic or narcissistic or Machiavellian or sadistic, truly believe the lie that building massive hydroelectric projects like Churchill Falls, Mascot Falls, and the new plan for Churchill Falls is environmentally friendly. And again, these are good human beings who have been lied to for so long by each other and by so many other people that they don't see this. They don't. They really and truly believe these lies. Yeah. So actually, at the heart of all our problems are is deception. And interestingly, Father Richard Rohr, I'm always reading books. I usually have about 10 on my bedstands, and sometimes I find a book that I read cover to cover, can't stop. more times than not, I'm reading from bits of books every day. So Father Rohr, his book that I'm reading now is What Do We Do About Evil, and uh, I actually find he's really on target for me with this, because I noticed that uh, for decades now I never used the word sin, even though I'm an Irish Roman Catholic. And that's because sin was used so often incorrectly to denigrate, hurt, harm, exclude certain people, and particularly around some type of sexual morality that was often very narrow and self righteous and judgmental and disgusting. And so that's why I stopped using the word sin. Um, and I also stopped using the word evil. And it's sort of coming from the same thing. And then I do try to study Qigong with Master Ming Tong Gu and his lovely wife Lin Ling Zi, and they're always talking about trying to go beyond good and evil, and so there are moments when we are trying to heal, when we're trying to renew ourselves, when this is probably necessary, but at the same time, yeah, I think a lot of the time we substitute words incorrectly. So anyway, I agree with Richard Rohr that what has happened is the word sin um, has been misused by certain branches of Christians for thousands of years, or at least 1,000 years. It's hard to know. You have to go back very carefully to see who said what when. But anyway, but it's been used uh, really when what for individual um, challenges. So the thing is, we are all human. So by we are all none of us are perfect. None of us live the lives we really, really hope to live. We're all deficient in one way or another. And we human, but what sin is our capacity to deceive. And the first person we deceive is ourselves. We convince ourselves, oh, I'm so good, I would never do that. Yes, and we judge others harshly. Now, and we deceive ourselves to our own capabilities. We deceive ourselves in so many ways. It's amazing. Anyway, I'm going to stop here, but I'm just going to say that I would like anybody who listens to me to please listen to Senator Adam Schiff. Now, I don't think he uses. I'll have to listen again. I don't think I've ever heard him use the word sin or evil, and that's fine. But he is very, very good at showing how Führer Trump clearly deceives himself, because he clearly thinks he's going to get away with what he's doing. And he clearly does not understand the reality that we are all linked together in a myriad ways across time and space. So I don't think there's a big judgment day with God, but I think, but because I've had some of these experiences myself, that when we understand how we have become disconnected in some way, we suffer. And boy, do we suffer. So I have suffered agony. I have suffered physical agony. I've suffered emotional agony. I have suffered financial agony, social agony, psychological agony, and spiritual agony. I have suffered agony because I could not uh, understand how a loving, infinitely compassionate, merciful God can allow genocide, can allow uh, child abuse, pedophilia, rape, all these horrendous human activities that are caused when we disconnect from our conscience, our inner selves, but also when we um, are actually flooded with toxic empathy. Yeah. People often want empathy. Empathy, like electricity, can be positive or negative. Cognitive empathy is where we understand how somebody else thinks, and this is how marketers use cognitive empathy to manipulate people to buy things they don't need. Yeah, and I'm falling for so many marketing ploys. I know all about that. And uh, so that's cognitive empathy. People are good at reading what would press my buttons and get me to buy something. It's a problem. It's a problem. Anyway, for me, it's a problem. Uh, Luckily, some people don't have that problem. Just like I don't have any desire to inflict. I have zero desire to see anybody hurt or harmed or shot or tortured or blown to pieces. That's just who I happen to be in this life. Now, that said, um, yeah. So I just don't think severe punishment works. I do believe in punishment and restraint, and so unfortunately, I think violent rebellion never works. Um, and Irish history taught us this. I would recommend people to look at the work of Daniel O'Connell, the great Irish leader who led impoverished Irish people at the worst possible times without violence to begin the process of repealing penal laws. It was a very slow process, and the pain that people suffered in Ireland was like the pain people are suffering in Gaza right now, Sudan, so many places, was beyond anything that any human should ever have to experience. And yet these things happen. So it's huge. The whole thing is hugely problematic. But it's clear that we need non-violent resistance. We need legal, lawful resistance, and we need to come from a place of great love. And boy, is that difficult. For me, it's much easier on a nice sunny day, which happens very rarely here. So, but for now, I want to say thank you, thank you, thank you, God, for President Claudia Scheinbaum. What a shining example of humanity. President Claudia makes me proud to be a human being. And thank you, thank you, thank you, God, for Mayor Karen Bass, another amazing human being who makes me proud to be a human being. And I think if we can really watch and learn from leaders like these, how to respond to evil, sin, because what is being done uh, by Führer Trump, and every single one of the GOP members who support him, every single person who has funded or written Project 2025, and especially our dear friends Peter Thiel, Elon Musk, with the terrible father Errol Musk. So I have to feel sorry for Elon Musk because his father is such an example of a sociopath, and a brutal, sadistic, Machiavellian sociopath. Um, and who else? And Zuckerberg. Mark Zuckerberg is a classic example. Oh, and the other fella, Bezos. Yeah, of banal evil. Because Zuckerberg and Bezos are not out themselves with, on horseback with guns, riding into parks and frightening 8-year-olds. They're not personally, scooping up, uh, tearing families apart and sending thousands of people off to death or torture and so on. They don't personally have blood on their hands. And yet, Zuckerberg, through his company Meta, is making an unbelievable amount of money, and a large number of, interestingly, many of them women who worked in that field, who understand that industry, are coming out to speak about how Zuckerberg is totally immoral and unethical. Now, years ago, human rights lawyers and people in Amnesty International suggested we all cancel our Facebook accounts. I never used Facebook much starting off because the Canadian Medical Protection Association and our college here in Newfoundland recommended physicians not to use it. And I'm terrified anyway of technology. So I was like, no, I won't do that. I'll do something wrong and cause a problem. And then years later, because I had become certified to teach the wonderful 8-week compassion cultivation training meditation course developed at Stanford Medical School, and because I needed to try and let people know I was teaching this and so on, starting in 2020, I had paid people to set up a website. And then I paid for something called a Mighty Network. So my website is becompassionatenl.ca. My Mighty Network is also now called Craic and Conviviality, because I'm hoping Craic and Conviviality might be the antidote to neoliberalism. That's my hope. And anyway, so I have been absolutely with no success whatsoever up till now trying to persuade all my family and friends to please use my Mighty Network instead of Facebook. Now I'm leaving, but if nothing else, please, please, please give a big shout out to President Claudia Sheinbaum, to Mayor Karen Bass, to Senator Adam Schiff, and I will come back again to make a long list of the other people, many of whom are on Substack doing great work. Of course, off the top of my head, I always have to talk about Professor Heather Cox Richardson, the fabulous American patriot professor of history who knows so much about the history of the US Constitution and different economic and political movements. And she is just another outstanding, stellar human being who gives me hope for humanity. And she's the person who first introduced me to Substack. And then there's also Bill McKibben. Oh, Heather Cox Richardson writes Letters from an American. And Bill McKibben writes The Crucial Years. and he is one of the foremost, most articulate experts on what we need to do to combat um, our climate and pollution and loss of biodiversity crises, which are all interlinked. So please, 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 all of you sign up for Senator Adam Schiff and Letters from an American and the Crucial Years, and my friend Sally Blue, and there's a long list of other people um, uh, that I need to mention. Of course, there's the wonderful Mary Trump, but I have to go back and check all the names, and I will do another video mentioning all the wonderful people on here, and I will mention the wonderful, gorgeous Micheál O'Sullivan, who is the son of Noreen Ní and Micheál O'Sullivan is a magnificent human being, a magnificent poet and musician, and he's on here, and he writes poems and tells beautiful stories and talks about music. So he's totally apolitical. So, but he's a wonderful human being and well worth supporting. And also, I desperately need some support. If any of you can subscribe and pay, that'll be just fantastic. Thank you very much. Thanks. Have a good